We are from the Twin Cities Comic Collective. We're a local group of independent authors and illustrators that are making independent comics. I'm Lucas Munson. I'm the president of the TC3.
I'm Jack Kotz.
And I'm Doug Kallberg.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of illustrators in the group. And so today we're going to be talking about making your own independent comics with the help of others, which is kind of the heart of the Twin Cities Comic Collective. So welcome aboard. As a group, we have over 20 different books, projects that are currently being, published, whether it's in a comic form or online or something. We've got more than 20 different projects. I've focused here on a couple that are collaborative amongst the three of us. Jack and I, since 2011, have been working on our series Siamese.
Yep.
It's kind of a post-apocalyptic sci-fi story. And then Doug Kallberg, along with Jack and myself, are working on Alpha X. And especially if you're interested in collaborative projects, this one is done by every member of our crew. All 12 of us are represented in the project. And it's a neat opportunity to see what can come from working together, because every page is a different combination of guys in the group. And so none of the pages look the same. They're all a really neat amalgamation of all of our styles and our influences, everything. So if you have a chance to come by our booth after the panel, check it out. I think you'll be interested in that
we're
one.
We're debuting it, and we've got Doug's cover illustration right there too.
Yep. And that's the heart of collaboration too. Like originally, I'd done just a sketch of a spacefaring girl or whatever, and Lucas took that as inspiration to write a script based on the entire thing. So you never know where that collaboration is going to lead you to. So. Mm-hmm.
So we assume that you are here today because you all have a great idea in your head for a comic book, and that you are trying to figure out where to go next. And that's going to be the heart of what we're going to talk about today. For our agenda, we're going to start out about beginning your comic project, kind of that early phase of, hey, I've got this idea, now what? Then once you've got something down, we're going to talk about finding the right partner to work with. We're going to talk about how collaboration can get you a success. There are definitely some pratfalls along the way. But, if you kind of follow some of the things that we've experienced and learn from our mistakes and our missteps, you might get some helpful hints there. We're going to talk about publication, how to bring your book out into the world, whether it's in physical or digital format. And then we're definitely going to leave some time for questions and answers, so that if you guys have anything after this is done, we're happy to talk to you about it. So, beginning your project, all the time we hear from people that come up to us at the shows and go, how do I get started? I've got this idea. How do I get started? What do I do? The number one biggest piece of advice that we can possibly offer to you is that you have to do the work.
Yeah.
Everybody's got an idea for something, and the difference between people that have projects finished and that don't is that the people that have them finished started doing the work. Mm-hmm. That is truly the only difference. You just have to start doing work to make something happen.
Yeah, and everything else can be a distraction. I had to give up video games, going out every night and having fun. If you're serious about it, you have to treat it like any other business where you set yourself time frames and stick with those time frames, no matter how tired you are, how much other stuff you've got in your life. You've got to stick with it.
Mm-hmm.
I know certainly for me, as I was getting started, I said, I have read comics, I enjoy comics, I have no idea how to make one. And I did a lot of research on writing for comics and how that looks and what you have to do. And we've put together a small list of books that can be really helpful about process. And you certainly don't have to treat them like the Bible, but definitely take inspiration from other people that are professionals that are putting out how-to sources. Some that we have been inspired by, at least from a writing perspective, Alan Moore. I mean, he's a genius.
Yep.
He's written some of the best and biggest comic book series of all time. And he has a great, really short comic book of how to write for comics. It's kind of dated. It's from probably the late 80s. Mm-hmm. But there's still a lot of really valuable, pertinent information in there that can be really helpful from a writer's perspective.
And even from an artist's. I love it. And I think I read it a few years back. It's a great book that teaches an artist how to read from a script and what they need to keep in mind when they're looking at a script. It teaches you how to read pictures and write words, basically. So, yeah.
Understanding comics is pretty cool because it is in comic book form. So as you're paging through, it's got panels and it's got layouts, and it's kind of fun. You're reading a comic about writing comics. It's very meta. DC does a great series, Comics Guides to, and then they're all different topics. So Comics Guides to, inking and panel creation. And
they're all made by professionals that have been in the business for a very long time that know what they're talking about. So.
Absolutely. Then the last series here, Artists, Writers on Comic Art, is out of print, but you can probably find it on Amazon Marketplace or maybe eBay or something. Our buddy Jeff Kulisek did a panel yesterday, and that's one of his picks. So if you can find them, they're very helpful. And kind of going back to what Doug was saying a second ago, comics will be your job after your job. You're not going to instantly start making money on comics. You're probably not even going to start making money on comics a decade later. Hopefully, eventually, something will pop and you'll make a little bit of money. And, hey, if you're one of the lucky few, yeah, you'll be a comics professional and that's your gig. But for most of us, comics is our job after our job. You make your 40 hours, you get your paycheck, you go home, and you make comic books. But just like you said, stay on a schedule. If you know what time of the day works best for you for writing, if it's you got to wake up early and you're fresh and you're ready to write, do it for a couple hours. If you do all your drawings the best at night, you have a glass of wine and you're doing some drawings and that's what feels good, spend that time, a few hours every day if you can. The more you do it in a schedule like that with frequency, you're going to get better and better and better at it. And it's your job.
Every day, too, makes it better. It's the same idea that I was talking about with your staying. If you're staying in focus, if you're working all the time, if you work on comics every day, it's just like another muscle when you're working out. If you stop working at all, that muscle is just going to start getting weaker and weaker. So, keep consistent.
And it's hard if you take a break to get back into it.
Very much so.
You can find a lot of distractions.
But you still can, of course.
Yeah, yeah. One of the big things that's going to be really important, especially when it comes to showing off your work, is being consistently consistent. Being consistent means you're always doing your best stuff, and there's a theme or a style or something that looks the same across the board. If you draw in different styles, that's okay, as long as it's your high quality stuff, and it's always your high quality stuff. If you're going to bring a portfolio to show to somebody or bring it to a convention, make sure it is consistently your consistent work. It is a representative sample of what you can do the best. If you feel uncomfortable about a certain piece or a certain aspect or a certain page, redo that one. Show your best stuff. Make sure you can be consistent. Show those people that you might want to work with that you have this consistency that is so important.
That's right. Yeah, and like Lucas was saying, they can be different styles. It's great to have a good portfolio of either writing or illustration that takes on several different means of how you would draw something. But keep themes. Focus on your strengths and not your weaknesses. Build up and just as long as your themes are consistent with your work. That way you can better market yourself, of course.
You definitely want to find people that you know that will be honest, give you honest feedback. You might show your mom your comic book and she'll go, "Oh, honey, you're so talented." That is not valid feedback, although your mother is probably a very nice person. My mom is sitting over there right now. You can't trust that source for honest feedback. Find somebody who's comfortable telling you about your flaws, telling you where you can improve, and hopefully they know something about the art form. But even somebody that's fresh to it and new to it can try to help you, get a perspective on what you might be able to do better.
That's right.
Who do you go to?
I like going to conventions, going to professionals that have been in the business for a while. They're going to be straight with you. They're not there to be your friend. And I've gotten some pretty harsh reviews. I've gotten some pretty good ones too, but it's all constructive stuff because they know what they're talking about because they've been doing it long enough.
Yeah.
So
surround yourselves with the best.
Certainly, it can be uncomfortable to get honest feedback from somebody. We've been a party to an incredibly harsh critique, and that person that got the incredibly harsh critique took it in stride.
Yep.
They're not there to hurt your feelings. You have to set
They'll
them
try.
aside. They might try. They're probably not, though.
No.
And so try to take the emotions out of it and go, okay, the point of this was to get better at what I'm doing, and trust what professionals or people in the industry are telling you. There's a lot of wisdom there. Even though it might be uncomfortable, it'll make your product better, and that's the point.
Yeah, I mean, if you've been drawing your whole life, chances are you've had family and friends tell you how amazing you are this entire time. That's not the reality that you live in, because the rest of the world's probably not going to care about what you do unless you make them care about it.
Well, the other thing too is that you just want to make sure that other eyes are seeing it. That's what making a product, making a comic book is about. It's not just something that you're looking at the end of it. You want to show it to other people. So make sure that a general audience understands what you're trying to put across, and it's that they see that you're a refined artist or writer. Yeah.
And then, a lot of times we get people that come up to us at panels, at our booths and tables at conventions, and they bring something to show to us and say, okay, well, what do you think of this? Can you give me a critique? But, I mean, how many times have I seen something that isn't completed and then they want a critique on it?
Yeah.
And then I'll say, oh, well, I would work on this. And then they go, oh, well, yeah, well, I was going to do that, but I haven't done that yet or whatever. It's in the process. Okay, don't bring that stuff. Bring your finished stuff. And that way you can have a basis of where to go once you've got your finished product. It's hard to get a finished product or what you consider to be a finished product, but shine it up, make it look the best you can, and then show it to people so that they aren't commenting on the things that aren't there. They're commenting on what is there and where you can go next.
You're going to want to do that just to respect other artists and writers, and you're going to want to do it just to respect publishers if you happen to come to a publisher at a convention. Lucas came to me with a fully completed script, and I thought, this guy's got his stuff together. And I read through it. He had a lot of research done on it, and I talked to him. I thought, yeah, I'm pretty interested in working on this. So I had something full to look at. Yeah.
So now we're going to kind of delve into the collaborative nature, finding the right partner. In working with Jack specifically on that project, so that Siamese that he's talking about, I brought him the script. I needed to find somebody that was a partner. And I knew I needed to find somebody that wanted to be as passionate about it as I am to make it their own thing. And if you skip down a couple to, it's a partnership, not a paycheck. If somebody says, yeah, I'll do your project, I'll charge you this much per page, well, let's work on it together. Now you're the client and it's their job and they're going to pump out whatever they want to pump out for whatever dollar amount you agree on, but it isn't their passion project. Mm-hmm. Realistically, I'm a guy who has my 9 to 5 and I'm trying to make comics. I don't have money to pay an artist what they're worth to do their best work. So you have to find somebody that wants to make your project their project and make it a true collaboration. You're going to get their best work out of it if it's their passion project too. They have as much skin in the game as you do. If it's a failure, they're as much a fault as you are. If it's a success, they're as much a fault as you are. Yeah. So make it that true collaboration that you guys are in it together to make it the best thing you can. Find that person that wants to make your project their passion project.
Right. And as an artist, going through school, something that was incredibly stressed was, you need to get paid for your work. However, I get to the point where I'm realizing that a lot of this work that I'm getting paid for just, it's really not that fun. This is a story that I really like, and it's something that I would go see or read. It's something that I enjoy. So in that case, I just want to do as much as I can to put it out, because there's a lot of cool stuff out there, but there's not enough cool stuff out there.
Yeah,
so
I would say I'm pretty fortunate to have been able to work on work that I liked and got paid for it. But you can't rely on luck all the time.
Nope.
I would say, like I said, it was purely good fortune to be on a project where I was able to collaborate a little bit with the person that created it and was cutting my checks. When I'm moving on to other projects now, that it has to be something I really want to do if there's not any actual money there. So, yeah, you have to want to do it.
And I mean, you've got a project coming up with one of the other TC3 guys that's of that nature. Alpha X was all collaborative. Yep. We were all in it to do our very best work, and we wanted to make it a group passion project, and that's what makes it a success.
Yeah, it's just cool.
Yeah. Make sure that when you are picking somebody that you want to work with, see representative examples. If your story is a sci-fi story and you're going to an artist that, does My Little Pony comics, you want to see what their sci-fi stuff looks like, not just their other genre stuff. So make sure you're seeing what they can do for you with your style. Obviously, that's something you're going to want to see before you decide to sign somebody up to work with you. And kind of along with that, make sure you're on the same page. Have a frank discussion up front. What do you expect to get from this? How are timelines going to look? How is it going to work once this thing takes off and if we get it published and if we make some money on it? Come up with a contract. Yep. Have everything laid out that it is a business partnership as well as hopefully a friendship or a collaboration of, artistic minds or whatever. It needs to be kind of set up like a business, and so have some business guidelines set in place for yourselves. And then agree on accountability and goals. If your goal is to have the first issue done in 1 year for a convention, make sure that the person you're working with has that same goal and that it's realistic and that they'll be held accountable to that. And don't accept a partnership if they're missing deadlines or if you're seeing that they're consistently late. It is not going to change. That will be going forward how your relationship will be. So early, upfront, figure out what your goals are, what your timeline is. Make sure that you are accountable, that you get stuff done when you are saying you're going to get stuff done, and make sure that you're holding them accountable too.
That is probably one of the best reasons you can to actually work with someone on a project. You have your work, and if you're trying to put out a project on your own, you're the writer and the illustrator. That's great, and some people do that, and it's very successful. But the accountability helps it so the project doesn't exist in a vacuum. You have something that you can bounce back and forth. You play this ping pong of ideas, and you get something a lot cooler out of it.
And then, it keeps you forced to work. If you're doing it by yourself, you could endlessly worry about details on one page. Oh man, I got 2 weeks to get this done. I got to get it done. So how am I going to do that? How am I going to find the time to do that? How am I going to set my schedule? Then you're not just perseverating on one page. You're getting the thing done. You're pushing it, pushing along.
You'd be surprised at how creative you get in it with a deadline.
Yeah, definitely. Make sure that it's still good stuff, high quality stuff, but yeah, get it done on time. All right, so yes, please go for it.
So you were talking about responsibilities, accountability, and deadlines. Do you have a paper, an agreement, a contract or something, or is it more of, can I have that week, and do you have more rigid contracts like that, or are you kind of like sort of a head nod, like you good with that? I'm good with that.
Yeah, I mean, Jack and I have never written up any kind of contract.
Exactly. Yeah.
I
would advise it.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah.
I think
sorry.
Well, I was going to say, I think a lot of it depends on how you've met the person, how you know the person.
Yeah.
The book that I worked on that I got paid for, we had a formal contract, and then we became friends afterwards, where certain things became more malleable.
Yep.
But I felt more comfortable having that contract to start with. Other books that I'm moving on to, I'm lucky to be friends with these people now, so that hopefully we won't need to have a written agreement. We've got some verbal ones kind of already in place. But should the need come, as long as you're working professionally with somebody, having a written agreement shouldn't hurt the work at all.
It would not at all. And one thing that I'd like to stress is that what we're showing you are our successes and our mistakes and what we've learned from them. There's no scientific method to this. If you find that a contract would be good, I think it's a great idea too. So please go on that.
Yeah.
But in speaking with flexibility too, I mean, you can't be taskmaster to your partner. Things come up, life happens. If someone is truly getting work done and doing a good job, and they miss a deadline, well, what are you going to do? You're going to give up and say, no, I'm done with you. be reasonable about it, but certainly if you agree to things and you have a contract set up and people are missing their deadlines and you have kind of a dissolution clause in your contract, like, well, what happens if this thing splits up and it doesn't work? You know, these are all good things to have, but just like this gentleman said, you know, be flexible and be realistic,
Right.
and but try to stick to what you're contracted for.
Yep.
So being a consistently consistent team, just like yourself, where you have to bring your best stuff, as a team, bring your best stuff, show your best stuff. Always be doing your best stuff to show your collaborator. Don't bring them a bunch of garbage that you threw together, because it's going to make you look bad. It's going to make the project look bad. Have conversations about making sure your stuff is the best it can be as you're going through your project. Be open to suggestions and feedback of your partner. There have been a lot of times where Jack has said, hey, I thought about this. How would this look? And I'll go, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. I hadn't thought of that before. Another project I work on with Jeff called the Prison Game and has been very collaborative on some of the story things. He has an idea about how he wants to do page layouts that I hadn't written into my script. And I go, wow, that would look really cool. I can make that happen. Let's do that. You might have a singular vision, but consider that just like the feedback that you got from those people that care about your project and want to see you do well, but also want to be honest with you, your partner is also a very valid source of feedback that you should consider.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the next book that I'm working on with one of the guys here in the group, David, our conversation about doing one book became a trilogy, so you never know where things are going to come out of it.
Yeah.
Definitely take chances. I mean, if nobody's ever taking any chances, there's never going to be any stuff created. So, you know, if you're feeling super comfortable what you're doing all the time and an opportunity comes up and it might be risky or it might be out of your comfort zone, take that chance. Give it a try. How many different projects and opportunities that we've had come to us and you go, oh, that's not exactly something I've done before. I'm not really sure how do I make a comic book collective? How do we, you know, put together a big collaborative project? How do we become a nonprofit organization? I don't know. I've never done that, but let's try to figure it out and use, you know, your teamwork and use your partners, and figure out how to make cool new things happen. Take chances. Risks are important. You're going to make mistakes, though, especially when you're taking chances. You haven't done it before. That's a learning opportunity. A mistake isn't a failure. It's a learning opportunity. Treat them as learning opportunities. Learn from your mistakes.
Don't repeat them.
Yeah, don't do them again, yeah. Part of the TC3, this collaborative nature, is that we have each other to provide critiques, to provide suggestions, to create new partnerships. And, you know, how much that I've learned and had the opportunity to kind of move forward in my craft because of what the others around me in the group are doing has been, you know, infinitely valuable and helpful. And so find others in your community, you know, find creators that go to the same comic book shop as you and talk to them about their projects. The last panel that we were at that we gave this talk, one dude started up an email list of other guys that were in the panel, guys and gals, you know, and it's like, hey, this is the new creators list. Let's talk, let's meet up, let's hang out at a coffee shop and show off our projects and work together. And that's super powerful. There's tons of people upstairs, right? Meet some of them, talk about your projects. There's a couple of guys in the panel that came to us and said, hey, we got this story that we're putting together. Can we show it to you when we're done? Cool. We're interested in the TC3. Yes. Find people that are doing what you're doing and you know, get involved with them.
And then something too about the collaborative nature too, like it gets to be a competitive nature too. And a lot of times competition breeds a better product. So you're trying to outdo each other every time you get together. Like, no, I've got a better idea. No, I've got a better idea. And eventually you might have a better idea together.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? If you do have some success and you do make a project completed and you are fortunate enough to be a wealth of knowledge for other people, be a resource for them. Help people that are just starting out and give them the same advice that you got and show them your mistakes and your, you know, learning opportunities and the advice that you've found. You know, Minneapolis, St. Paul, this is an incredibly strong comic books community. Yeah. And there are some really cool creators that live here and that are working here and, you know, help each other out. Okay, so now you've got your project. You've found your collaborator. You've made something happen. You're really happy with how it looks. Now what? We definitely have experience with this. So printing, a confusing land of possibilities. I've never been so frustrated or confused about what the hell to do in my entire life when it comes to printing out your comic book. There are guys that want to charge you over $10. There are guys that will charge you $1.50
For a book.
per 132-page comic book. Like, there is such a wide variety of costs and qualities, and it is incredibly hard to navigate. And I think it is probably the most frustrating and difficult part of what we've done as a group thus far.
Yeah, and finding someone that's knowledgeable in what you're doing is really difficult.
Yeah. Don't get disheartened. Sometimes you might have to pay a lousy fee to get books printed quick. Sometimes you might get a cheap cost and it's a cheap product and it looks like garbage. Just keep at it. I wish I had a better set of advice for you on that, but this is still something that we're working forward to try to figure out. So
Yeah. So, I mean, every project, maybe try a different printer if you didn't like the last one. I know the last book that I coughed up with my other writer friend that we had an amazing cost, and then they went out of business. So
Just happens.
that's probably why they had an amazing cost.
right?
They weren't making any money because of that.
If you know of any great printers, come talk to me afterwards. But yeah, just to give you a guideline, we're printing black and white books for $2 a piece right now. We're printing color books for $4.50.
Selling them for about 5 and 10.
5 and 10, and it's just so that, you know, we got a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of running around and a lot of cost to cover, and, you know, we make a few bucks a book. It's not ideal, but we also don't have, you know, tens of thousands of dollars to go towards printing tens of thousands of copies. That's where you can get books for under $1 a piece, and
it's our best way of putting it out right now.
right.
So.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a guideline of what we found is kind of realistic. So when you're printing out your books, you know, kind of think about that when you're getting prices from print shops. Certainly there are other unconventional avenues for publication. Let me have this man talk to you about digital comics.
Yeah.
So, yeah, web comics. I started doing this about 10 years ago. And unfortunately, I was 5 years behind all the other professionals, which I wish I would have gotten started even earlier. But it's probably the easiest way to get your stuff out to the masses. It does take a long time to build up an audience unless you've got something that really clicks with people. I was fortunate enough to get someone to help me build a website for free back when websites had to be built. Nowadays, there are templates that you can do all of the stuff yourself at home for next to nothing. As long as you have a computer and a hookup to the internet, steal someone's Wi-Fi if you have to. It's totally worth it. You can get it out there, and it will depend on how serious you are too. I know when I started out, I set myself a goal for 3 comics a week, every single week, and I've been doing that for 10 years.
How many comics do you have online right now?
I've got about 1,400 comics published.
That's how you get it done.
You know, I'll admit it. I've published sick. I've published under extreme stresses in my life. I went through a divorce at the beginning there, so there was that. I was sleeping on someone's floor, but I still did the comic. I've posted drunk. I'm not ashamed to say that. It's happened, but I still put it out there. I've posted hungover. Strangely enough, that happens when you're posting drunk. So you can have your own website. You can put it out there. If you just want to give it a shot, Facebook's free. Instagram's free. Pinterest is free. Twitter is free. Instagram is free. You take your comic, you put it out there, and you see what kind of reaction you get, and it's immediate. You can see people posting things on a blog, so you have on a website. You can leave a comments page. You can at least get someone telling you how bad it is. I'll take it. I don't care. I've gotten hate mail. I've gotten fan mail. It doesn't matter. You know, as long as you're getting some kind of visceral reaction from people, you've touched somebody at some point. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's kind of the whole point of why you're doing comics. You've got an idea in your head. You want to get it out there, and by putting it out there, you're getting a reaction from somebody, and that's what you want as a creative person.
Definitely.
If you just want to do it yourself, you can have stacks of stuff sitting in your own home for your own pleasure, and it doesn't matter because it's just for you. You want other people to see it, and the web is a really easy source to do it. You know, so you can talk equipment. You need a computer. If you're going to do it by hand, scanners are great. They've got all kinds of computer programs you can draw on the computer. But, you know, that's probably the easiest way for somebody to get out there for next to nothing. So like a subscription to your website might cost you a couple bucks a month, and then just go for it. But you got to be consistent, like we talked about. Set yourself a schedule. If you want readers, you've got to put a product out there on a regular basis so they know your schedule. Because if they don't know your schedule and you're just doing it up randomly, they're going to come by whenever they feel like it, and you don't want that. It's like the daily newspaper. You want people to pick it up on a regular basis, so be consistent. So make an oath with yourself. I'm going to put out a comic a week. Do a comic a week. And eventually, if you go to the beginning of my website, freerangecomics.com, always plugging, you can see at the very beginning how much better it's gotten. So by doing consistently and regularly, you're going to treat yourself to getting better as you go along anyway. And it's a great teaching tool to see what you can do with yourself.
Thanks,
So,
Doug.
really,
Yeah.
great source.
Marketing, he just talked about it. All that social media stuff, get it out there. It's free. Go to as many conventions as you can. Robert Kirkman, the guy who does Walking Dead, among many other projects, says that before you will become known for doing comics, you have to attend at least 10 comic conventions a year in various different markets. That's how you get known. Get out there, show your stuff, pay for a booth at a comic show. The MSP Con, formerly Spring Con, they have free tables. It's all local creators that show up. That's how we met. We've had tables there for years now, and it's a completely risk-free opportunity for you to show off your stuff. That is a huge way for comic book fans to find out about your projects.
Yeah, and we're living proof they'll take anybody.
That's true. But then once you've got product that connects with people, that people feel like they're willing to give you money for, hey, then pay some money and give some money to Wizard World and come and have a booth here and sell even more comics and get your stuff out there, show it off.
Yeah, and conventions are a huge learning experience. Like, if you haven't learned how to pitch your product to somebody in person, you're not going to know how to do it on the web. You're not going to do it in any other print form.
Yeah, always get your pitch down.
And us comic book guys, many of us are very reticent to want to talk to other people. We kind of live in this insular world where I do my work at my desk and I'm an artist. And you're going to be uncomfortable talking to everybody that walks by and shouting at people, hey, you like sci-fi comics? Come take a look at this thing. But you got to do it, because otherwise nobody's going to know about it. And then your local comic shops, man, they are your best friend. Every shop around town in the Twin Cities has been super cool about having our books on the shelves. We went to the source and introduced ourselves. We showed them our books. They go, these are great. We're going to put an ad for your books in our mailing list website or email blast that goes out. Like 30,000 people are signed up for this thing. And I just went, whoa, thank you so much. And then they put our books right along the new releases. I mean, that was amazing. Hot Comics and Collectibles is the same thing. They put our books on the new release wall, and I just go, man, that is so cool that they're helping to promote our books. They're local guys. They appreciate us. We appreciate them. Use that to your advantage. Those guys will be your best friends when it comes to getting the word out there.
They invited us out for a signing, too. I mean, that's a great way to publish yourself, too. You could put yourself out there. Is like the fact that these places are willing to have you come and sit in there and sign your comics to other people.
Yeah.
So...
And they'll cut you a good deal, too. You let them know, hey, my cost on this book is $2. They got to make a profit, too. The cost on this one is $3. Okay, well, here's a little bit different deal, So they'll work out a deal for you. They want you to get paid for what you're doing. They need to get paid for what they're doing. But, man, they've been so nice about helping us local guys out. You got to use them as a resource. Let your creativity be your guide. Do what you feel comfortable with. Do what you love. Make it your passion project. Find somebody else to make it their passion project. You guys are going to make great stuff.
Yeah.
Good luck to you. You can follow us, Facebook, Twin Cities Comic Collective. We have all our various Facebook pages as well that you can like and check out. We've got a Twitter, Twin Cities Comic. We've got Instagram. We don't post as much as we should, but we're working on it. Twin Cities Comic. So check us out, and I'm going to skip this slide real quick to go to this. To say thank you, we put together a limited run print of a collaboration between Kotz, myself, and Mr. Kulisek. If you come back to our table, C35 through 45A, check out our comics, buy some of them, get a print for free, and I'll go back to this one, and you can see our stuff. So there we go. All right, time for questions. The gentleman with the glasses, go for it. Contracts on LegalZoom. I haven't.
You can. That is a way to do it. You don't have to pay an outsource to do a contract. There are forms online you can find and download for
Very
free.
easy to find.
The trick to a legal contract, you want someone to stand up in court if that's what you're really feeling you need. You've got to have someone notarize it. So like a lot of banks offer that as a service. There's a lot of people out there just will do it for like $30, but you have to have someone other than the initial party stamp it and say, okay, this is a legal document, and that will stand up in court a lot better.
And so you and your partner have to show up and sign in front of the notary, and then they
in
stamp
front
it
of them
for you.
too. You can't just write it on a napkin and like make sure that works out. That's
If it's a notarized napkin, though, it'll work. That is a contract.
That is true.
Whatever you've got. I haven't done it.
Yeah, I have signed contracts. A book I worked on, Kingdom of Loathing. It's a licensed product, so from another company. So they have their own like little legal department. They sent me a contract. The guy that I work with actually kind of wrote it up himself. It's fairly vague, so it leaves a lot of leeway for us. But the insistence on it was, of course, that I get paid for what I do. Otherwise, I wouldn't have signed it.
Yeah.
But it kind of depends on what you want out of the contract. If you're talking about creative rights, so if you want to split the creative rights, if you want to keep all the creative rights to yourself, if you're the writer and you want to just like pay the artist or whatever it is you're going to do with the artist, and they can go keep the artwork and sell that, and that's the only money they're going to make off of it, fine. But in today's atmosphere, you never know if someone's going to offer you a movie or a TV deal, and that's a transfer to media. That becomes a whole different contract, and you're going to want to be good with the creative person you did, because I know the guy that created Walking Dead had kind of a falling out with the artist, and so there's some legal contract kind of thingies that go in with that. So a contract's a good thing to have if you don't have a really good, hard, solid thing with the person you're creating.
Yeah. Partnership aside, if you have anything that you're getting online or getting paid for, you got to get a contract for that. Anything that has to deal with monetary value, highly recommend it.
Yeah, so. And even if you're putting out, like I put out cartoons on a regular basis, I got it copyrighted. Other people, that's the thing about the internet. Anybody can come by and swipe your stuff and try to make money off of it. But as long as you have it copyrighted and you find that out, you can always have them shut down.
And copyright law is super, super supportive of the creator. As long as you put on your materials, every page of your script, put copyright, the year, your name, that's your copyright. That's legally binding. If you want to make it even more ironclad, put it in a postage paid mailer, send it to yourself, and then do not open it.
Ever.
There'll be a stamp for the date on the mailing, and if you've got that sealed thing in your house with that date on it, and somebody steals your stuff, you take that to court and go, this is unopened, this is postmarked by this date, and it says copyright on the materials inside, you will not lose that case.
Yep.
We're talking about a copyright certification, you mean, when they send it?
No, I'm just talking about send yourself your own script.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or your own a printout or a CD or whatever of your content that you created it by this date. I do own the copyright to Siamese. It is on the books with the government. I have a thing. I paid $30 for it. If you want to do it, you can. I think it's just kind of cool that I own a copyright to my project, and that I have like a certificate. So if you feel good about it, but you don't have to. Just mail yourself in a manila envelope your script and just don't open it, and that's copyright, man. Other questions?
So I'm interested in writing comics, but I've been reading some information, and one thing that I read suggested that when you write a comic, it's wise to draw what you're envisioning, so that will help so you draw what you're envisioning, so that helps the artist what they're going to draw if you're working with an artist. So does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
Sure.
So, okay, I'm your resident writer on the panel. I don't do any of my own comic illustration. I have infrequently drawn out things to show Kotz what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
It might look like garbage, but it helps a little bit.
If you need to make if you're a writer, it really helps to make a map sometimes of like a scene. You have your room layout. You've got your setup for this character is going to be walking through here. This character is going to be walking through here. You want to make you make some sort of small diagram of what angle this truck is crashing through this building, just so you get the full effect of how you want it portrayed. But very much so. Definitely use your own art if you want to help further demonstrate it.
Yeah,
I've
and
had that done for other writers in the past too.
And I've had writers send me a lot of Google image searches.
Yes.
Because they didn't know how to draw, but at least they give me photographs of like, this is what I'm thinking this should sort of look like.
Yeah.
And then they give a brief description of how that would change from the actual photograph itself.
Yeah, you did that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've picked like Hollywood actors that I go, oh, this guy could kind of look like, Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
Or this guy could kind of look like James Franco. I've picked scenery for Siamese. It's in the wasteland. There's a bunch of like busted out old buildings, and so I found a bunch of pictures from Chernobyl of the buildings that have just kind of wasted away and fallen over, and the streets that are all overgrown and stuff. And I sent that, make it look like this. Yeah, any of that visual representation, a picture is worth 1,000 words, right?
Image search is your friend.
Yeah, send it out. Do it.
Any others?
Even if it looks like garbage, it'll help. Go for it.
Yeah.
This isn't so much a question as a comment, or maybe you can tell me if this is already a thing. I wish I had the technical skills to create a website that connects people who are good illustrators with people who are good writers, so they can see example of the other's work and say, I'd like to be involved in that.
Sure. Okay. So the comment is that he wishes that there was a web source for connecting creators of illustrations with creators of writing to kind of pair up. That does exist. I don't know what it's called, but when I started looking for an illustrator, a friend of mine said, hey, this is a thing, go check it out. I wish I knew the name of it. I don't know it. It is something that's out there, but you're going to get absolutely everybody on there, and you may have absolutely no idea of what actually the talent and capability is. So you may or may not find success from
Are you
it.
thinking of LinkedIn maybe?
There are sources on Facebooks. There are groups on
Yeah,
there that
there
you
are.
can join. I
Yeah.
know one of them is like artists seeking writers or whatever. So that can be an okay way of doing it. And since it's pretty instant, you can put up, people put up photos of their work and like, oh, I would like to work with that person. Private message me, and then you can talk that way and then figure out where you're going from there.
I bet you a couple of quick Google searches, you'd find something that could
totally.
be helpful.
Yep.
Any last ones?
You guys promote independent comics as an ethic, anti-publishing.
As a group of independent comic creators, yeah, we love indie comics. But hell, if Image came to me and said, I want to pick up Siamese,
Yeah.
you'd be crazy not to go for it,
You guys ever done submissions?
We have not, I have not. I don't know
I have.
if
This
he has.
is, yeah.
We,
I've got a nice stack of rejection letters from DC and Marvel. It's
That'll
great.
happen too, and you need to do that.
and one thing is so I've been doing this since 2011. You about the same amount of time, I think, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's school before that.
But in actual projects. But
Yeah.
again, just like our advice to you is to have a finished product, that's kind of our idea now that we're wrapping up Siamese, is it's going to be a finished product
It's
that is the
completed.
best that we can make, and then I'll send it out.
Exactly.
So if you can get independent success on your own as an indie guy, wow, that would be amazing, but I don't know of any. I mean, everybody that's here that you know of is because you've read them on Image or Marvel or
Yeah.
wherever else. But there's a ton of really cool smaller publishers. First Second, Oni Press. There's so many really cool. Boom Studios is just blasting out awesome creator-owned projects right now. And so I would say you have to consider that as being your end goal, is to have your project completed and then give it to a publisher. Or even if you get, a lot of submissions have 10 completed pages because they want to see that you can create a sequential chunk, and you go, okay, here's what I'm promising. That's enough where they go, oh, you can do this. As long as you can hit your deadlines, your timelines, we'll publish it for you. So if that's something that you have an opportunity to do, and Oni Press just as of May 1st is starting to accept creator-owned stuff, images all the time. There are a lot of really cool studios out there that'll publish your stuff. And
Heavy Metal's here, they're doing
Heavy
that.
Metal is here.
They
So
have
yeah, that is everybody's dream, is to get a publication and distribution deal, certainly. And maybe it's not. Maybe you just want to do zines and little indie things and
That's
make
awesome.
photocopies.
Yeah.
Sweet, man. Do that.
Yeah.
Whatever you are passionate about.
It needs to get out there. Yeah.
Perhaps one last quick question.
Go for it.
Find an artist who's on the other side of the country. NDA before you discuss details. Do you recommend that?
Sorry?
A non-disclosure agreement? I mean, okay, why not? Go for it. If they'll sign it, that's fine.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be too concerned about it. I mean,
Sometimes you want to promote it, but sometimes you don't want it to get out too
well, right, but what I'm saying, okay, so all of the big guys, they've got their own ideas. Everybody's got their own idea. They've got their own project. You know, I wrote a children's book. I sent it out to a bunch of publishers to try to find an illustrator. I got a nice stack of rejections. I'm not worried about Penguin putting out my book. I've got the letter that they sent me back that we don't want this. So if they're going to put out a thing about a dancing French fry, then I'm going to go, you guys stole my idea. Here's my rejection thing. Pay me. You know, they've got a million ideas. I wouldn't worry too much about it. You know, you want to show it off as best as you can and to as many people as you can. And, you know, trust your copyright and don't be too concerned about it, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times it comes to great minds think alike. And, you know,
Yeah.
I've seen many products out there like, oh, I had that idea years ago, but I never said it out loud. Or I never did a thing with it. Like, well, you know, that happens. So.
And, you know, I mean, geez, Armageddon and Deep Impact came out like the same summer. 2 asteroid movies, you know. They had to each independently go, oh, what? But they both came out, and one was terrible, and one was also terrible, but did better in the theaters. So, you know, but there are differences, you know. They're not the same movie. It's not going to be the same book, the same comic, you know. We are doing a Norse thing, me and Cool, a Norse mythology book. And literally as I finished the script to give to Jeff, I got onto Facebook, and there's like a guy doing something called Ragnarok who's like been doing comics for a long time. And I go, are you flipping kidding me right now? Like, this was my idea, and now this guy's doing it. But then I saw pictures, and I read the story a little bit, and I go, no, mine is different and way better. So I'm not worried about it.
I think it might be more of an obstacle or a turn-off to a collaborator, is that the cast?
Maybe. That would be my concern. And, you know, and I don't want to make this sound the wrong way, but, like, I'm just a dude. You know,
Yeah.
You're just a dude. We're not published guys. I'm not, like, anybody that matters. You know, if I was, I don't know, if I was Robert Kirkman and I was coming out with my new massive hit comic book, then, yeah, maybe I would. And then the artist that I'm working with is going to go, oh, my God, I could maybe draw for Robert Kirkman. Yeah, I want to do that. But, you know, I'm Lucas Munson. I'm a guy that nobody knows. And, like, here's my comic idea. Sign some disclosure thing. And they're like, screw you, man. I don't know who you are. Whatever. So I would be thinking of it from kind of that perspective, if that helps.
Sure.
Yeah. So
All right. Well,
thank
we
you,
are-
guys. Come to our booth, grab a free print,
C35.
C35 through 45, and buy some books.
Please, please, please.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you.